Dr. Elena Reyes stood frozen at her observatory station, coffee forgotten in her hand as she stared at the monitor. The massive structure had appeared in Earth's orbit without warning, a sprawling, geometric marvel of alien engineering that dwarfed the International Space Station a thousandfold. Its gleaming, obsidian surface reflected Earth's blue-green hues while revealing nothing of its interior. "Are you seeing this?" she whispered in her headset, though the tremor in her voice betrayed that she already knew the answer. "Every observatory on the planet is seeing it, Dr. Reyes," came the tense reply from Mission Control. "It just appeared. No approach trajectory, no warning. 1 minute empty space, the next that." The structure resembled a massive polyhedron with hundreds of facets, each seemingly made of a material unlike anything humanity had ever engineered. Initial estimates put it at roughly 3 kilometers in diameter, though its precise dimensions were difficult to determine due to a strange visual distortion surrounding its edges. Within hours, every space agency and military on Earth was on high alert. Emergency sessions of the United Nations convened while heads of state retreated to secure locations. Social media erupted with theories ranging from divine intervention to alien invasion. Religious zealots proclaimed the end times while conspiracy theorists claimed vindication. Yet the structure remained silent and seemingly inert, offering no clue to its purpose or origin. The doctor, Elena Reyes, found herself rapidly promoted from staff astronomer at Chile's La Silla Observatory to one of the lead scientists on humanity's hastily assembled First Contact team. Her specialty in xenoarchaeology, the theoretical study of potential alien artifacts, had been considered a fringe field by many of her colleagues. Now, it made her one of the most valuable minds on the planet. 3 days after the structure's appearance, Elena found herself aboard a Falcon Heavy rocket bound for the International Space Station, which had been repurposed as a staging area for closer observation of the alien object. The launch had been rushed, with safety protocols compressed but not abandoned. Humanity needed eyes and instruments closer to the structure as soon as possible. "Welcome to the ISS, Dr. Reyes." Commander Yuki Tanaka greeted her as she floated through the airlock. The Japanese astronaut's face showed the strain of the past 72 hours. "I wish your first trip to space came under better circumstances." Elena managed a tight smile as she secured herself to a handhold. "I've spent my career wondering if we are alone in the universe, Commander. Now I'm not sure I want the answer." The structure had maintained its position above the North Atlantic, orbiting in perfect sync with Earth's rotation so that it remained fixed over a single point. It had defied initial attempts at communication and had shown no reaction to radio signals, light flashes, or even the tentative approach of satellites redirected to observe IT. In the station's observation module, Elena got her first direct view of the object. Through the ISS's windows, it hung against the blackness of space like a fragment of impossible geometry. Its surfaces too perfect, its angles precise beyond human manufacturing capabilities. Parts of it seemed to shift when viewed directly, as though certain aspects of its design existed in dimensions human eyes weren't equipped to process. "What do you make of it, Dr. Reyes?" asked Dr. Lu Wei, a Chinese physicist who had been on the ISS when the object appeared. Elena stared at the structure, her mind racing through theoretical frameworks she'd developed over years of academic speculation. "It's artificial, obviously. The question is whether it's a vessel, a probe, or something else entirely. The lack of visible propulsion systems is noteworthy. Could it be a weapon?" The question came from Colonel Marcus Hayes, the American military liaison rushed to the station on the same launch as Elena. "If it were, I suspect we would already know," Elena replied. "It's been 3 days with no hostile action. That doesn't match any theoretical first strike scenario." Hayes frowned. "That doesn't mean it's friendly." "I didn't say it was," Elena countered. "But aggression typically doesn't begin with silent observation from a fixed position." The team had assembled the most advanced sensing equipment available on short notice, but preliminary scans had revealed frustratingly little. The object absorbed or deflected most electromagnetic probes, and its surface temperature matched the surrounding space almost perfectly, making infrared imaging nearly useless. "We are sending a drone tomorrow," Commander Tanaka informed them. "Remote-controlled, heavily instrumented. It will approach slowly and attempt to make physical contact, if there's no response to proximity. Elena nodded absently, her attention fixed on the structure. There was something about its design that nagged at her, a familiarity she couldn't place. "Has anyone mapped the complete geometry?" she asked suddenly to Doctor. Lou nodded. "We have compiled imagery from multiple angles. The model is incomplete due to our limited vantage points, but I need to see it," Elena interrupted. "The complete three-dimensional rendering, whatever we have." Minutes later, Elena was floating before a holographic display of the structure, rotating it slowly with gesture controls. Its complexity was breathtaking. Hundreds of interlocking geometric forms that somehow combined into a cohesive whole. "There's a pattern here," she murmured, more to herself than to her colleagues. "It's not random. These recurring formations, these specific angles." She manipulated the model, highlighting certain features. "These aren't just structural elements. This is a language." Colonel Hayes looked skeptical. "A language? Written in architecture? Why not?" Elena challenged. "Human civilizations have encoded meaning into structures for millennia. The pyramids, Stonehenge, Gothic cathedrals, they all communicate cultural values and cosmic understanding through their design." She continued, rotating the model, her excitement growing. "Look at these recurring ratios between elements. They appear throughout the structure at different scales. That's not coincidence, it's communication." "What's it saying?" Commander Tanaka asked, peering closely at the highlighted sections. Elena shook her head. "I don't know yet, but I'm certain this isn't just a vessel or a weapon. It's a message, or perhaps a question." The first drone approach was scheduled for 0800 hours UTC the following day. Elena had spent most of the night analyzing the structure's geometry, identifying patterns and potential meaning in its design. She'd slept barely 2 hours before joining the rest of the team in the station's command module. The drone itself was a modified satellite inspection unit, roughly the size of a washing machine, covered in sensors and cameras. It would approach the structure at a rate of 1 meter per second, broadcasting a repeating message of mathematical sequences, the universal language, scientists hoped, on multiple frequencies. "Drone is away," reported the technician controlling the unit from Earth. "Approach trajectory nominal. ETA to minimum safe distance is 18 minutes." Elena watched the screens with equal parts excitement and dread. This was humanity's first deliberate interaction with something truly alien, a moment she had imagined throughout her career but never truly expected to witness. The drone's camera showed the structure growing steadily larger in its field of view. At this distance, the surface details became more apparent. The material wasn't simply black, but seemed to contain subtle patterns that shifted with the viewing angle, like oil on water. 10 minutes to minimum safe distance, the technician announced. No response to broadcast signals. Elena studied the live feed intently. "Can we get infrared scanning data?" "Coming online now," Dr. Liu replied, bringing up a secondary display. Still nothing distinctive. The surface appears to be maintaining a perfect equilibrium with the surrounding space. 5 minutes to minimum safe distance. Colonel Hayes leaned forward. "I don't like this. It's too quiet." As if responding to his concern, alarms suddenly blared throughout the command module. The drone's telemetry feeds spiked wildly. "Energy surge detected," the technician shouted. Massive power spike emanating from the structure. On screen, a section of the object's surface began to transform. What had appeared to be solid material flowed like liquid, reconfiguring into an opening roughly 10 meters across. The drone's sensors registered a massive surge of unknown energy types emanating from within. "Abort approach," Commander Tanaka ordered. "Pull the drone back." "I'm trying," the technician responded tensely. "It's not responding to commands. Something's interfering with the control signal." They watched in stunned silence as the drone continued its programmed approach. When it reached the minimum safe distance of 100 meters, it slowed as designed but didn't stop. Instead, it continued drifting toward the newly formed opening. "We are picking up some kind of directed energy field," Dr. Liu reported, his voice tense. "It appears to be drawing the drone toward the opening." "Can we self-destruct?" Colonel Hayes demanded. The technician shook his head. "That system is non-responsive as well." Elena stared at the feed, heart pounding. "Wait, look at the opening. The geometry around it. The edges of the portal had reconfigured into a complex pattern that mirrored elements of the mathematical sequence the drone had been broadcasting. "It's responding," she whispered. "It's showing us it understands." The drone crossed the threshold into the structure, and for a brief moment, the camera continued to transmit. The interior was bathed in a soft, blue-white light that seemed to emanate from the material itself. Complex structures could be glimpsed, reminiscent of circuit patterns but organic, flowing. Then the feed cut to static point 12 hours later. Elena floated alone in the observation module, staring at the alien structure. After the drone disappeared, the opening had sealed seamlessly, returning the object to its original configuration. No further changes had been observed despite continued attempts at communication. The disappearance of the drone had triggered a new wave of panic on Earth. Military assets were being repositioned, and there was talk of potential kinetic strikes against the object. A response Elena knew would be not only futile, but potentially catastrophic if the structure's capabilities were even a fraction of what she suspected. Dr. Reyes. She turned to find Colonel Hayes entering the module. His expression was grim. "They're going to attack it, aren't they?" she asked. He sighed. "Joint Chiefs are considering options. The Chinese and Russians are positioning anti-satellite weapons. No one wants to fire the first shot, but no one wants to be caught unprepared either. It would be a mistake," Elena said firmly. "That thing could have obliterated us already if that was its intention. Maybe it's just gathering intelligence first," Hayes countered. "The drone could be providing it with everything it needs to know about our capabilities." Elena shook her head. "An intelligence capable of building that structure wouldn't need our primitive drone to evaluate us. They could learn everything about our civilization from our broadcast signals alone." Before Hayes could respond, Dr. Liu's voice came urgently over the intercom. "Dr. Reyes, Colonel Hayes, you need to get to the command module immediately." When they arrived, the scene was one of controlled chaos. New alerts flashed across screens while the crew struggled to interpret incoming data. "What's happening?" Hayes demanded. Commander Tanaka looked up, her face pale. "The structure is moving. It's changing orbit." On the main screen, a trajectory plot showed the object shifting position, accelerating smoothly without any visible propulsion. Earth-based observatories were confirming the movement. "Where's it going?" Elena asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "Current trajectory indicates it will achieve geosynchronous orbit directly above northern Africa within 30 minutes, Dr. Liu reported. Specifically, it appears to be positioning itself above the Great Pyramid of Giza. Elena felt a chill race down her spine. That can't be coincidence. Military response is now imminent, Commander Tanaka said grimly. Chinese anti-satellite missiles are being prepped for launch. U.S. Space Force is activating orbital defense platforms. No, Elena protested. We can't attack it. This movement is deliberate communication. It's telling us something by choosing that position. Colonel Ifhoned. What could it possibly be saying by hovering over a pyramid? Elena's mind raced. The Great Pyramid has unique mathematical properties. Its dimensions encode several mathematical constants. Its position marks one of the most precisely surveyed points on Earth, located almost exactly on the intersection of the longest line of latitude and the longest line of longitude. She pulled up a terminal and began accessing archaeological databases. For centuries, humans have speculated that the pyramids contain mathematical knowledge beyond what their builders should have possessed. What if those speculations were right? What if the pyramid was influenced by previous contact? You think this thing has been here before? Hayes asked incredulously. I don't know, Elena admitted, but it's choosing that location for a reason. And we need to understand that reason before anyone starts launching missiles. The next few hours passed in a blur of frantic diplomacy. With the structure now positioned above one of Earth's most recognizable ancient monuments, global panic had reached new heights. Tourist sites across Egypt had been evacuated, and Cairo was in a state of emergency. Elena had been patched into an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council, pleading for restraint from her position aboard the ISS. This object has shown no hostile intent, she argued to the assembled world leaders. Its positioning above the Great Pyramid appears deliberate and communicative. We need time to understand its purpose. Dr. Reyes, the Russian representative, responded coldly. Your speculation about mathematical communication is interesting, but provides no concrete assurance of peaceful intentions. We cannot gamble the fate of humanity on archaeological theories. Similar sentiments echoed from other representatives. Fear was driving the response now, not reason. When the connection ended, Elena turned to find Commander Tanaka watching her. "They're going to attack within the hour, aren't they?" Elena asked. Tanaka nodded sadly. "Coordinated strike. Multiple nations simultaneously to prevent any one country from being targeted for retaliation." "It's a mistake," Elena whispered. "We need to try one more approach. Something direct." "What are you suggesting?" Elena took a deep breath. "I need to go out there. A human presence, face to face. No technology between us, just direct contact." "Absolutely not." Colonel Hayes interjected, having overheard as he entered. "It's out of the question. We have EVA suits," Elena pressed. "I can approach in one of the station's maneuvering units. If the structure wanted to harm us, it could have done so already. This might be our only chance to establish meaningful contact before missiles start flying." Commander Tanaka looked troubled. "Even if I agreed, we couldn't get authorization in time." "Then don't ask for it," Elena said simply. "This is bigger than protocols. This is about the survival of our species." A tense silence fell over the module. Finally, Tanaka spoke. "Dr. Liu, Colonel Hayes, I need to discuss something with Dr. Reyes privately. Please give us the room." When they were alone, Tanaka fixed Elena with an intense gaze. "What you're proposing is suicide," maybe Elena admitted. "But I have spent my life wondering if we are alone in the universe. Now that we know we are not, I can't stand by and watch fear destroy our first chance at contact." Tanaka was silent for a long moment. "I can give you 15 minutes to prep the EVA suit. I will handle the maneuvering unit myself. If we're doing this, we are breaking every protocol together." 20 minutes later, Elena was sealed in an EVA suit, her breath loud in her ears as she ran through final checks. The plan was simple yet terrifying. Commander Tanaka would pilot a maneuvering unit to bring Elena within visual range of the structure. From there, Elena would approach alone. The entire operation would be conducted with communications disabled to avoid detection from Earth-based monitors. "Ready?" Tanaka asked through the suit's internal comm. "As I will ever be," Elena replied, trying to keep her voice steady. They exited through the airlock, the vast curvature of Earth spreading beneath them while the alien structure hung above. From this angle, with Egypt now on the daylight side of the planet, Elena could see how the object was perfectly positioned above the Giza plateau. Commander Tanaka piloted the maneuvering unit with expert precision. "We have 10 minutes before the station's orbit takes us too far from optimal approach vector," she informed Elena. "After that, we will need to abort." The structure grew larger as they approached, its impossible geometry more overwhelming with each passing second. At 500 meters distance, Tanaka brought the maneuvering unit to a stop. "This is as far as I go," she said quietly. "The portable thruster on your suit has enough propellant for the approach and a return journey if you are quick. If not," she left the consequence unspoken. Elena nodded, the motion barely visible in the bulky suit. "Thank you, Commander, for everything. Just come back, Dr. Reyes." With a deep breath, Elena activated her suit's thrusters and began the final approach alone. The structure loomed before her, its obsidian facets reflecting distorted images of Earth, the sun, and the stars. As she drew closer, she could see that what had appeared smooth from a distance was actually covered in intricate patterns. Geometric designs etched into the material at microscopic scales, creating the shifting, oily appearance. At T100 meters, she began broadcasting a simple radio message, the same mathematical sequence the drone had transmitted, followed by her own addition. Prime numbers, the value of pi, the golden ratio, basic mathematical truths that any advanced intelligence should recognize. At 50 meters, the structure remained unchanged. Earth rotated silently below, unaware of the lone human floating toward an alien enigma. At T25 meters, Elena's suit sensors detected energy fluctuations from structure. Her heart raced as she watched a section of the surface begin to transform, flowing like liquid metal into an opening identical to the one that had swallowed the drone. This time, However, something emerged, a sphere approximately 2 meters in diameter. It surfaced the same shifting black material as the main structure, floated smoothly from the opening. It moved with deliberate grace, stopping 10 meters from Elena's position. "Hello," she said aloud, though she knew nothing beyond her suit could hear her voice. The word was more for her courage than communication. The sphere pulsed once with a blue-white light. Then, to Elena's astonishment, it began to reconfigure. The surface flowed and reshaped until it formed a rough approximation of a human figure, featureless and simplified, like a three-dimensional shadow. Elena remained still, barely breathing, as the figure extended what appeared to be an arm toward her. At its tip, the material transformed again, forming into a complex geometric shape that Elena immediately recognized from her analysis. One of the recurring patterns from the main structure's design. Understanding flashed through her mind. It wasn't just a pattern, it was a symbol, and the alien was presenting it as an offering? A question. Slowly, carefully, Elena extended her own gloved hand toward the symbol. As her fingers approached, the material flowed again, enveloping her hand without touching the suit itself, creating a connection that wasn't physical but somehow felt profound. And then it happened. Images flooded Elena's mind, not through her eyes but directly into her consciousness. She saw stars, thousands of them, arranged in patterns she didn't recognize. She saw worlds, some barren, some teeming with life forms so alien she could barely comprehend their forms. She saw vast structures like the one in Earth's orbit, positioned around different stars throughout the galaxy, and she understood. The structure wasn't a weapon or a ship. It was a test, a gateway, one of many scattered throughout the galaxy, appearing to species that reached a certain technological threshold. The test was simple yet profound. How would an intelligent species respond to the unknown? With fear and aggression, or with curiosity and peaceful intent? The images shifted, showing Elena's civilizations that had passed the test, species that had approached the structures with peaceful inquiry rather than weapons. These civilizations had been welcomed into a vast galactic community, their knowledge and capabilities expanding exponentially through shared wisdom. She also saw the fate of species that had failed, those that had attacked the structures out of fear. They weren't destroyed. They were simply left alone, marked as unready. The structures disappeared, returning to the void between stars, waiting centuries or millennia before offering another chance. With sudden clarity, Elena understood the significance of the Great Pyramid. The structure hadn't chosen that location randomly. It had been there before, thousands of years ago, making preliminary contact with an earlier human civilization, planting seeds of mathematical knowledge that would be encoded into monuments and passed down through generations. The connection broke as gently as it had formed, the alien figure withdrawing its appendage. It remained before her, waiting that Elena's mind raced, understanding the urgency of the moment. Somewhere on Earth, missile launches were being coordinated. Humanity's response to the unknown was teetering on the edge of fear. She had to act, had to somehow communicate what she'd learned before it was too late. Raising her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peaceful intent, Elena backed away from the figure. She pointed urgently toward the ISS, then to Earth, then back to herself. A primitive attempt to convey, "Let me return. Let me tell them." The figure remained motionless for a heart-stopping moment. Then it reconfigured once more into a sphere and retreated toward the main structure. As it disappeared through the opening, the portal remained open, an invitation perhaps, but not for this moment. Elena wasted no time. Activating her thrusters, she pushed back toward the waiting maneuvering unit where Commander Tanaka watched anxiously. "We need to get back," Elena said urgently as she reached the unit. "Now, I know what it is, and we have minutes to stop those missile launches." The scene in the ISS command module was chaos when they returned. Alarms blared as targeting systems locked onto the alien structure. Multiple nations were in final countdown to launch. "Override protocols," Commander Tanaka shouted as they burst in. "Give me direct lines to NORAD, Beijing Space Command, and the Kremlin immediately." "Belay that," Colonel Hayes countered. "You have violated direct orders by conducting unauthorized EVA. You are relieved of command, effective immediately." "Stand down, Colonel," Elena interrupted, her voice carrying an authority that surprised even her. I have made contact. I know what the structure is, and if those missiles launch, humanity fails a test we may not get another chance to take. Hayes hesitated, caught off guard by her certainty. 60 seconds to coordinated launch, a technician reported tensely. Give me those lines, Elena demanded. Now, Dr. Liu moved quickly, bypassing security protocols to establish direct communications with the three primary launch authorities. You have 30 seconds, he told Elena, as the connection stabilized. Elena took a deep breath and spoke with every ounce of conviction she possessed. This is Dr. Elena Reyes from the International Space Station. I have made direct contact with the alien structure. It is not a threat, it is a test. A test of our readiness to join a larger galactic community. She explained rapidly what she had learned. The purpose of the structure, the meaning of its position above the Great Pyramid, the consequences of an aggressive response. You have my word as a scientist, and as a human being, she concluded, that this object means us no harm. But if you launch those missiles, you condemn humanity to isolation for generations to come. Stand down, please. Seconds stretched into an eternity as her words hung in the silence. Finally, a voice, the NORAD commander, stand down launch sequence. Verification protocols Alpha 79er. Similar orders followed from the Russian and Chinese commands. Elena sagged with relief as confirmation came that the launches had been aborted. Around her, the ISS crew stared in stunned silence. What happens now? Commander Tanaka asked quietly. Elena turned toward the observation window, where the alien structure was visible against the backdrop of Earth. Now we learn, she said. Now we grow. 3 days later, Elena found herself aboard a specially equipped shuttle, leading a carefully selected international team toward the structure. After her initial contact and the averted missile crisis, governments around the world had scrambled to organize a proper first contact mission. The structure had remained in position above Giza, its portals still open, waiting. Preliminary investigations had confirmed Elena's account. The object emitted no radiation harmful to humans, and probes sent through the opening had transmitted images of vast, empty chambers that seemed designed specifically for human visitors. As their shuttle approached the open portal, Elena felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. The team around her, scientists, linguists, and diplomats from a dozen nations, sat in reverent silence, each contemplating the magnitude of the moment. Final approach, the pilot announced. All systems nominal. Elena gazed out the viewport at the structure that had changed everything in less than a week. Humanity had stood at a crossroads between fear and curiosity, between aggression and peaceful inquiry. Against all odds, curiosity had prevailed. The shuttle glided smoothly through the portal, entering a vast chamber bathed in the same soft, blue-white light Elena had glimpsed before. The interior was even more impressive than the exterior. Impossible architecture that seemed to fold space upon itself, creating a sanctuary that felt both alien and strangely welcoming as the shuttle settled onto a platform that appeared to form specifically for their arrival. Elena saw them. 3 of the humanoid figures she had encountered before, waiting at the chamber's center. Remember, she told her team as they prepared to disembark. They have been watching us for millennia. They have seen our wars, our cruelty, but also our art, our music, our capacity for growth. They believe we are ready for this step, or they wouldn't be here. The shuttle's door opened, and Elena stepped forward to lead humanity into its cosmic adolescence. Behind her, Earth hung visible through the portal, beautiful, fragile, and suddenly not so alone in the universe. The aliens gestured toward a passageway that opened before them, leading deeper into the structure. Whatever lay beyond would change humanity forever. Elena took the first step, not as an individual, but as a representative of her species, flawed, often frightened, but capable of choosing curiosity over fear when it mattered most. In that choice lay humanity's greatest strength. In that choice lay their future among the stars.